Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Hey everybody, what's up? I hope you're having a great day wherever you are in the world out there. Hey, look, thanks for tuning in to the show. If you're new, welcome. I'm glad you found it. This is the #1 rated podcast for real estate agents, and we talk about how to grow your business. And look, if you are not a realtor or don't sell real estate, that's okay. Because really, this show is about entrepreneurship through the lens of a real estate agent. And so, all the stuff that we talk about, you can apply to your business, whether you're a painter, plumber, or pie maker. Okay, look, we're going to do the entry to the show a little bit different. We're going to cover, I'm going to tell you what the show is about. I'm just going to give you a roundup here. Like usual, I'm going to, I've been asking for your questions because I've been planning on doing a full episode. I just happened to jump on a call with a guy this morning, so I'm going to run over his question, and you guys will probably have the same question at some point. And then I'm going to tell you, let's just get to it. Okay, look, so here's what today's show is about. Now, I'll tell you, I'm going to take a few minutes in the beginning, as I mentioned before, to talk to you about some things. And I'm doing that because, the show usually runs about an hour. Today's interview only lasted about 30 minutes. Now, if you've been listening to the show for a while, some of my guests are easier to deal with than others. Some people, it's pretty easy to get information out. Other people, it's a struggle, and I have to, really work hard to get good info out of them. So let's get to it. Now, here's what we talk about today. Today's guest, he's got a smaller team. He's got 6 agents on his team. So that's, it's small, but it's, at least he's got a team. Now, with that team, they are doing about 150 deals. So what we talk about is how he started, and he started on the buyer side. So I said, hey, what'd you do? Who'd you call? What'd you say? So we do cover, some kind of basic stuff about how he started. We talk about prospecting and how his prospecting went from passive to very active. And I'll let you listen to that story. One nugget, one takeaway for him, he's like, you should always engage people out in the world and ask them, who do you know? Who do you know that wants to sell or buy? And I know that's uncomfortable sometimes, if it doesn't come out in an organic fashion, it can seem stilted. It can seem weird, and I get that. But you do have to at least engage and say, hey, look, my name's Toby. I help people with real estate. And that should be enough. We also talk about what specifically he's doing right now for advertising. How much is he spending? What is he spending it on? And the one thing we talk about is the new thing for him is Facebook ads. So he's just going to do Facebook ads. All right. And we all, the last thing we talk about, we also talk about in order to, and this is going to tie very neatly in with a question that I got from Patrick Mercer today. But if you are on your own, there's only so much you can do, right? We all have 24 hours in the day. Now, the interesting thing is, somebody like a Mark Cuban, or Donald Trump, those guys are able to get a ton done in the same 24 hours that I have or that you have. How do those people get it done? Now, how it works is that you have to replicate yourself, right? You have to get help. You can't do it on your own. So we talk about, for him, today's guest, his mindset around automation and then delegation. All right. So now look, that does tie in to today's question of the day. Patrick Mercer, I asked you guys just to send me an email with your questions. He somehow got on my calendar and I called him. I don't know how he did it. And he doesn't either, but he got on a weird calendar of mine. When I saw it pop up, I was like, what is this? Anyhow, so here's the deal. So he's a new agent. And he's been at it since last January. He didn't do one single deal in his first 6 months. And then from month 6, June, to now, which is November, he's done 10. He's done, he's in San Diego. It just so happens to be here in San Diego as well. But he's done about $5 million of business so good for him. He's done well. Now, so his question to me is, he's like, hey, I finally have a little bit of money. What should I do with it? How should I spend that money? And this was my answer to him. You need help, right? Again, you only have so much capacity, so you need to replicate yourself. Now, you need to deploy, if you're in that situation, deploy capital in one of two ways. One, hire an assistant in your office to help you, right? Help you, do the listing, help you promote your listings, help you to just do the stuff. Let me back up. All of you guys should figure out how much your time is worth per hour. What is it? Is it $50? Is it $100? I talked with a guy, I don't know, a few weeks ago. I said, how much is your time worth an hour? He said $800. Okay, fine. Whatever the number is. And the deal is, if the thing that you're doing right now, if you can outsource it for less than that amount that your time is worth, you should do it. Outsource it, right? Whether, again, your time is worth $50, $100, or $800. So that was my thing to him is, look, I don't know. I said, I don't know what you're doing your day to day, and I don't know what's eating up your time, but either one, go get an assistant to take that stuff off your plate, or two, go get a VA and have them start prospecting for you. Because again, real estate is a contact business. You need to prospect, and you need to be consistent about it. You cannot, get on the phone for 4 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday, none on Wednesday, none on Thursday, and then, again, 4 hours on Friday. It's not going to work. It needs to be very, very consistent. So, and if you don't have the time or you're out doing whatever, you can hire a VA. You can use my Outdesk. You can pay $9 an hour. There's definitely some talent out there. That's who I have. My girl, my calling girl, I don't even know what I call her, Jennifer. Anyhow, that's who I use for her, and she's out there. She books guests for my show. And I gave her a list, and I'm having her call radio folks. So if you have a little bit of extra money, do one of those two things. Don't go buy a new car. Don't blow it on Christmas that's coming up. Reinvest it in your business. And look, a great place. This is all tying together. A great place to deploy capital is radio, right? realestateradioexperts.com. Go check it out. Radio is the source to get listing leads. There come list me leads. The way that we do radio is, we get real live celebrities to endorse you, to say, hey, Jimmy John Doe has a fantastic offer. He's going to sell your house in 30 days, or I can't tell you the rest. But it's definitely an offer. And look, the old one out there that's been running around for a long time is, hey, I'm going to sell your house or I'm going to sell your house, or I'm going to buy it, right? There's lots of different offers like that. So radio. If you are new to the show, I'd like you to do a couple things. We have a very active community on Twitter. My handle is @SuperAgentsLive. The hashtag for the show is Unpack That Idea. I know there's thousands and thousands of you guys out there, and it's so funny, man. Somebody will tweet out the show, and 5 or 10 people will favorite it and retweet it, and then you guys will go dark for a while, and I don't know what's up. But I'd love to see you out there. I'd love to meet you out in Twitterland. The other thing I'd love you to do is go to the site. Go to the site, register, get on our list. Now, speaking of sites, I know I'm a little bit banging all around here. I got to tell you something. So, I have a development team. Okay, they build our websites. They build our web pages. Now, I've worked with these guys for a while. They do great work. I put them on a mission, and they go do it. Now, you've heard us talk about our Backstage Pass product. It's actually called School of Profits. It's not yet developed, so don't go there. But you're going to be able to get on these calls with me live. ask questions to my guests. It's basically group coaching. And it's going to be for a very, 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 very affordable price. I'm trying to provide, certainly this show is coaching for you, but the thing that's missing is interaction from you to me, from you to my guest. That's missing. So we're building a medium to where you guys can ask your questions. It's going to be in a group forum, so not everybody gets a ton of time, but you're going to be able to participate. And, in the world of coaching out there, it's either you have no coach and you're left on your own and struggling, or you got to dole out $1,000 a month and sign a 12-month contract. That's ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. And, if some of my coaching friends are listening right now, I just don't think that that's appropriate. For some people it is, but not everybody can afford that. And I would rather people spend that $1,000 on a VA or a salesperson rather than a coach. So listen, the School of Profits is going to be a product that, we're going to start at $99 a month. You're going to be able to get group coaching for $99 a month. Ask me questions, ask my guests questions. And it's probably going to ramp up to 300, but the people who get in early, they're going to be able to keep that thing. So here's why I bring it up. My developers. So these guys, and this is going to apply to you guys, man. So my guys came to me and said, "Hey, listen, we're going to get you." They gave me a list of domains, okay, and they were sort of benign names. And they said, "Listen, these things have expired. They have traffic. They have Facebook likes. They're backlinked. We're going to buy them, and we're going to direct the traffic towards you." So I said, "Okay, that's fine." So we did that. Now, I just let them have access to my account. I don't know how many times they've done this. I get an email this morning because I said, "Hey, listen, I want you guys to find, I need real estate names because, we're, whatever." So I said, "I need real estate names." So I get a list of names today, and they sent me the list of names, and they sent me the Facebook pages to these names that were attached. And what they sent me, I'll tell you, they bought them. They bought them without telling me, because that's my deal with them. But they said, "Hey," and they sent me a link or an email. I said, "Listen, check out this list. It's a really, really sweet list. Blah, blah, blah." So I go, okay. And I typically don't open all that crap up, but I did. And I opened up the domain name. And then I opened up their Facebook page because they had it linked. Now, keep in mind, my dev team, just bought these domains. We owned them. What I found was shocking. When I opened up their Facebook page, these people are active. These people have posted. These people have real estate businesses. They have posted on their Facebook page 3, 4, 5 days ago, and my dev team just bought their domain. And now, if I would have known about it, I wouldn't have let them do it. There's no mechanism for us there's no mechanism for us to go back and say return them. But I'm telling you, we're going to sort this out. That is not something that we want to do. But I'm telling you this because if you guys have gone out and you bought a domain name, you're attaching your Facebook page to it, you're going out and building a business, the last thing you want is to let it expire and have somebody buy it. Now, we'll work with the people that we bought. We'll give it back to them. But oh my gosh, guys, don't let that happen to you. So make sure your credit card is up to date with GoDaddy wherever you have registered your name. And if you look, hopefully you're thinking of your business today as a long-term business. So you know what? Don't just go and register your name for a year. Go register for 5 years, for however long time that you can do it. Go buy it. It's what are you going to spend $8 a year? You don't want to let it expire. Okay, so hopefully that will help you. The last thing I want to share with you guys before we get to the content is, number one, if you like the show, I would love it if you could go to iTunes, give us a good review, or just give us an honest review. If you're not happy, if you don't like the show, that's okay. You can do that. Tell the world that on iTunes, as well as Stitcher Radio if you have an Android device. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is, again, before we get to the episode, is, right now it's November. Next month, December, and guess what? What comes after December? January 2016. So are you planning? Have you put together your rollout plan? Your big 2016 year plan? Hopefully you've done well this year in 2015, but I would love to see you double your business in 2016. So how are you going to do it? Now, here's the deal. I created my plan for 2016. I'm actually really, really excited about it. It was really great to do. I did it in a visual way. I just bubbled everything, and ideally, I want to have everything that I do work with everything else. Now, so look, I got to tell you, I started at square one, and I said, what is this company's identity? What is it? We have the radio ad agency, we sell real estate, we have a podcast. What are we exactly? Because sometimes I get I forget, or I get a little bit, because where do you spend your time, right? Where is the low hanging fruit? Where can you spend the least amount of input, get the most amount of output? Sometimes I get mixed up myself. I don't necessarily get confused, but every day is different. And some days, working on the product is the best thing I can do. But so here's what I did, and I'll tell you. So identity, what business are you in? And I would encourage you guys to think about that. What business are you in? And if you're thinking, Toby, you idiot, I sell real estate. Well, you know what? What do you do though? Right? I mean, there's residential, there's commercial. There's lots, there's apartments, there's all sorts of, there's waterfront, there's all sorts of niches or niches, however you want to say that. But, just similar to what we're doing with this show, you can't bucket lots, waterfront, condos, apartment buildings, strip malls as real estate. Even though those are very, very distinct niches that you need to build your brand around. You need to choose one of those niches, and I think it's a mistake. I recently had a girl on the show. We released Deborah Harris, and she did everything. And I said, Deborah, why are you doing that? She was in a small market, and it worked for her. But how much farther could she have been if she just doubled down on one thing? And the same thing goes for you. I know you sell real estate. You want to sell real estate. Pick a niche. Condos, waterfront, whatever. So find your identity as a company. And, as you start to build your brand around that identity, because look, your brand is more than your logo. I think a lot of people go, oh, my brand that's my logo and my colors. That's not a brand. So find your identity. Now for us, as I put it all together, I said, what are we? What's our identity? We are a media company. Okay, we are a media company. What are the legs that our media company stands on? Now, the two main is radio and podcast. Now, I have one other arrow for my identity, because I just said identity, not necessarily company identity. And I'm in real estate. I buy and sell real estate. I'm a real estate investor, and it was very, very interesting to me. And I also do bridge loans. I do financial stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I do, but it was very interesting to me that as I built this matrix, the whole real estate stuff was over here. So anyhow, my main identity for this endeavor is as a media company. Okay, so over here, radio is one of our channels. What do I need? I need more awareness. We all do. And I need more credibility. So, okay, I need that. What are the two? How do I get, number one, more credibility? Well, I wrote a book. I need to pump that up on Amazon. And I have testimonials, but I need to surface them. Okay. So now I've just supported that leg. Well, what about awareness? Now, for me, I go down distribution. Now, I'll talk to you about distribution in a second, and hopefully some of this stuff will resonate with you, at least in the way that I put this together. So, okay, so the two legs are radio and podcast as a media company. So I said, okay, well, the podcast. number one, how can that help my real estate stuff? Well, the only one way I could do it is referrals. I've never asked you guys for referrals, but I'll start to. So that way, as I put time and energy into the podcast, that can benefit everything else I'm doing. Okay. So, how does the podcast support itself? Now, the podcast has never supported itself. I don't have very many affiliate deals, and when I do, I don't show them to you. We don't have any products. I wanted to create a very clean, lean, mean, full-on content machine, and we've done that. But we need to make the podcast self-sufficient. So we're going to create products. And again, we've done the show for 2 years. We've never done that. So as I look at my map here, media company, podcast, products, product line. So we're going to have 4 product lines. We're going to have the School of Profits I talked about earlier. We're going to have the done for you email thing, which is 100 templates that we have today, where you guys can literally for $29.95, $30 a month, you get access to a minimum 100 email templates. Cut, copy, paste, send. Boom. The affiliate page. And then sponsorship. We don't let people sponsor the show. And I think, we've lost, $20, $30, $40, $50,000. My buddy, John Lee Dumas, he gets in sponsorship revenue every month. He gets about 50 grand a month. Crazy guy. And it's, it's probably crazy that I didn't do that, but okay. So now I know who we are and how we monetize each one of our legs. So then I got to go down to distribution. Now, distribution, and again, hopefully you guys can take what I'm saying today, and I know you can if you think about it. And I wish I could give you this map, but I can't. I can tell you about it, but I don't want to give it to you. I don't want it to get into the wrong hands. But distribution. Now, for me, growth equals sales. And for you guys with real estate, you could think of it another way as, more exposure, more awareness equals sales, right? The more people know about you, assuming you have credibility, that equals more deals. That's it. So for us, with both podcast and radio, growth equals sales. The more listeners I have to this show, that's going to bolster, number one, the sale of our products, and that's going to bolster more radio clients. All right. So when you think about distribution, there's 2 pieces to it, right? There's distribution channel and then distribution platform. And those may seem very similar, but they're very different. So channels. Now the way that I'm going to distribute this podcast or this kind of content is going to be in 3 distinct ways. So I'm a content creator. We create content. All right. Now we have to get this content out to the world. How are we going to do that? So one very clear way is this podcast. So with this podcast, we're distributing the content. Now, the second thing, the second channel is going to be through email. That's going to be, we build our list, we have our list. Maybe you guys found the show, maybe you signed up, and maybe you got busy and you haven't listened to us for 6 months. Well, I need to re-engage those people. So the way to do that is through email. I have these emails, and I have content from the podcast. Now I need to just take the spoken word content and package it up into the written word. Now I have 2 channels. I have the podcast, I have the emails. And again, this is from one content creation. The third leg for the channels is going to be articles. Now, I used to have a deal with Realtor.com. Some people got mad over there. We did a deal, an interview with Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone came out and said, "Hey, real estate agents blow. They're crappy at what they do." Everybody threw a fit and they pulled our deal. That's okay. I cut a deal with Inman.com literally a year ago, and I just haven't done anything with it. But they said, "Hey, if you write an article that's unique, we will post it." Now, I need to, hopefully, that deal is still active. I need to find out, but I'm sure I can reactivate it if it's not. So we're going to start writing articles using the same content from the podcast and then distribute it to Inman. Now, there's 2 things. So I want you to think about these channels in 3 ways. Number 1, there's the podcast. You guys are actively listening to the podcast. That's great. Number 2, email. Now, those emails are going to go out and they're going to re-engage you guys that are active, but they're also going to re-engage those people who maybe became inactive. Again, same thing with you guys on your list. And then thirdly, the articles, there we're going to engage completely new audiences of people. So three different distinct channels, and our now that we have those channels, what is the touch time point? That's going to be 1 point time a week. Okay, now for platforms, right? So again, remember, we have the podcast, we've created content, we've written a unique article, we're going to cut down, and we've submit that to Inman, submit it to realtor.com. We cut it down a little bit more and create an email. Now we get to platforms. Now, platforms are standalone platforms. There's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, YouTube. Okay? So now all of those, Twitter's 140 characters, and you can submit long form letters on LinkedIn or long form articles. Now, the thing with LinkedIn is this, and you guys may or may not know this, but your prospects that you want to meet are on LinkedIn. Okay, where do you find them? How do you find them? Now, you could do LinkedIn ads, cost money, but you could also find groups. Now, LinkedIn will let you join 50 groups for free. 50 groups. Now, if you think about it, if, a small group is, 200, right? But let's assume 500. 500 times 50 groups, that's 25,000 people that you can engage on a weekly basis. So what we are going to do is we have the article, we have the email. We're going to then take that content, rebuff it up a little bit for it to be native, and then reutilize that on all those platforms: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and YouTube. Now, how often we're going to do that? We're going to do that one time per week. Now, that's a lot of work. So the way to do that, right? Again, if you don't have a VA, which is delegation, you need to think about automation. Now, automation, there's Hootsuite, which I'm sure you know Hootsuite. You can put all your social posts in Hootsuite and literally do it on a Monday to whatever, do it on Sunday, and then schedule the release dates. You do it once, you set it and forget it. Boom. So now all of a sudden we are very well covering the market. So that's distribution. And then a lot of times when you think about this model of distribution channels and then sales channels, a lot of people will see them as the same. My distribution channel is my sales channel. Well, it's really not, because a sales, here's our sales channels. Now, I'll tell you what we're doing today and how we're going to change it. So the sales channels that we have identified for us are 5. There's the podcast, because I do commercials on them. There's Facebook ads, which are cheap and very targeted. There's Google pay-per-click, which is more expensive, and that, even though we've identified that as a channel, we're not planning on using that channel. There's partnerships. We have a partnership with Corcoran Coaching. We have a partnership with Landvoice. We have a partnership with there's lots of partnerships that we have. So we need to go out, again, realtor.com was a partnership. We need to go out and form more partnerships with people who have, customers, clients that our ideal avatar. Somebody who wants to listen to the show, somebody who wants to buy our product, somebody who wants to sign up for radio. So we need to identify a group of those, Boomtown, Commissions Inc., whatever, get close to those people and have those, our partners, introduce our products and services to that new audience. That becomes a referral. That's very much like radio, right? If you trust Greer Allen at Boomtown, and Greer says, hey, go check out Toby for radio, that gives us credibility. Now, again, for us, there's so many vendors out here in the world of real estate that it's easy. Bomb. I mean, I don't want to just start saying names, but I probably should not have said the Boomtown guy. Anyhow, so for you, could you, what is the and the last channel is outbound calls, right? outbound calls. And that should always be a channel of yours. But for you, your sales channels can be this similar kind of thing. Investors, FSBOs, expireds, farm. So again, I want you guys to think about your distribution channels and your sales channels, and then your sales process. Now, today for radio, for example, because that's the only thing we sell, we haven't sold anything else. What we do is, right, you will go from, you'll get introduced to our radio service either through an outbound call we make or the podcast. Now, what we do in our sale, I'll tell you, our sales process is currently broken. You learn about the radio from the podcast or outbound, and then we send you to a getting started page. You fill out the getting started page, and then we set up a call, right? Podcast, getting started page, call. Now that's okay. My conversion rate is crazy good out here, but we can be better. And our new sales process is going to be the channel, podcast, Facebook ads, pay-per-click, partnership, or outbound. We're going to send you to a landing page, a squeeze page. Now that's a very, very simple page with simple content, kind of explaining the service, and then prompting you with a call to action. Today, instead of taking you right from that call to action to a call with me or someone here on the team, I'm thinking that we should go from podcast, ad, whatever, to landing page to a webinar, and we will play with both live webinars and recorded webinars, then to the getting started page, and then to a phone call. If I can roll you through that process, our closing rate is going to go it's going to be much, much higher. So again, I would love for you guys to think about your sales process. Does that process make you look more professional? Does that process slowly bring that prospect closer and closer to you? Anyhow, I hope that wasn't too much. I hope that you could kind of follow along with that. If you have questions, send them over. I'd love to start answering them for you guys. Maybe do a whole, hour-long episode. But that's it. Let's get to the actual show. Today on the show, I'm really excited to talk to today's guest. Now, today's guest, as you guys know, we're taking more of a regional focus. Getting away from talking to those mega team folks, 50 people and 900 transactions, because you guys are maybe not building that. Maybe you're building a little bit more of a regional business, which is fine, which is great. So today's guest, his team size has got 6 people total, 2 admin, a buyer's agent, and a couple listing agents, including himself. Last year, they did 147 transactions, so very respectable. Average sale, $275, and again, probably more in line with where you are out there listening right now. He is in Snohomish County, Washington. Never heard of that. I'm thrilled to welcome Keith Foote. Hey, Keith, thanks for taking the time out today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Giving me a call.
Of course, absolutely. So listen, Keith, I've given the audience just a nuts and bolts overview of what you're doing out there. But maybe take a minute, before we get into what's working, what's not working, and we're going to talk a little bit today about building a team, so team building as well as evaluating your ROI, which is always important. But take a minute and tell us about yourself. I'm always curious about the man behind the machine.
Well, let me see. This is real estate's my second career. My first career was in education, and when I left education, I was looking for something where I could help people move forward in their lives, and I also need challenges, daily challenges, and so real estate really fits that needs. And so I settled on that about 10 years ago and haven't looked back.
So when you say you were in education, were you a school teacher?
I was a school teacher and an administrator.
Got it. Okay, so you were in the management side of things. What? Just out of complete curiosity, Keith, what did you teach?
Well, I finished my career teaching 7th graders, and those are 12 and 13-year-olds, mostly focusing in the sciences.
Got it. That's fun. Dealing in the sciences is fun, right? Whether you're dissecting frogs or looking at the solar system. But geez, man, dealing with 12 and 13-year-olds, that had to be, look, I have a 12-year-old now, and she's rotten. I mean, I love her to death, but she's got a bad attitude. She's always unhappy about something.
It sounds to me like a normal seventh grader.
So I can see how you wanted to make a change and really help people. Now, so you say, Keith, that you wanted to find something where you could help people. Is that sort of a passion of yours of really helping people and changing their lives?
Yes, it is.
So,
and real estate is one of those things that really has a direct impact on people's lives.
Yeah, well, and again, I think it's everything, right? It is. That is whether that your neighborhood, your lifestyle, where you live is so shaping of, especially as a kid, right? That shapes you, your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So for you,
Yeah.
okay, you wanted to help people. Real estate certainly is a foundation in that. Did you start out on the buyer side? I mean, I think that seems a natural start.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I started out on the buyer side where we used some different systems, and at that point we were able to use Craigslist a little bit more aggressively than what you can today,
Mm-hmm.
and using advertising and call capture pages, we were able to build a nice little buyer's business. And at that time it was just me, and then I invited my business partner Craig Degernis to join me. And he and we've been business partners now for over 10 years. And I would run the ads and everything, and I would make the phone calls. And then Craig and we would split up the showings and working with the clients. That's how we started.
Okay, so now did you were a school teacher, you were an administrator. Did you come to this business with a list?
No, I had I built the business from the ground up.
From scratch.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's talk about how a school teacher, right? You didn't necessarily have a business background. How did you go? How did you start with that? I mean, did you just say, well, geez, Craigslist is low hanging fruit, and I mean, is that how you started?
Well, I started looking for ways to build the business because I learned really quick, being a new guy in the office, you'd have floor time.
Yeah.
And floor time to me wasn't real productive. We didn't have a lot of walk-ins. The internet was just beginning to pick up, and so I didn't have a lot of walk-ins. So I started searching for different ways to build my business, and it seemed to me as though the buyers was a way to, because there are people that need to buy something now. And I was able to use the tools that were available at that time, which was Craigslist and a couple of these others where you can hand these capture pages to build the business. And we just, from 9 to 11 every day, I'm on the phones. And then Wednesday evening from 7 to 8, I was on the phones again. Those were my calling times. And we just kept, and it's consistency, doing the same thing over and over again and doing it day in and day out. Consistency wins over talent every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a numbers game in sales. I 100% agree. So when you say you were calling, who were you calling?
Well, I would call the people that would contact us through our ads.
Okay.
And sometimes they weren't ready to buy now, but they were ready later. And so I use I learned I needed to have a data management system. And at first I started with one that was included with my computer program, and then quickly discovered that I needed something a little bit more oomph. So then I started using a more aggressive data management program that it's been out there for a long time. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be able to mention exactly what I use.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, I use Top Producer.
Yep.
Is what I use.
That's everybody uses that.
Oh, it's a marvelous program, and we run pretty much our whole business out of Top Producer with the listings and the buyers and everything.
Okay.
And using that consistently, it's what builds the business.
Again, early on, you're very much a prospecting guy. If you could post the ads, right, and then you start, you make phone calls and you're doing follow up. How has that evolved, since in the last 10 years for you?
Well, for us, the way it's evolved is that it's a little bit more difficult for us to use some of your call capture things with like your Craigslist and things of that nature. They've made it a little bit more challenging for us. And so we've had to develop some other tools where we're using mailings a little bit more. We're asking more for business. Who do you know? Mm-hmm. When I'm in the shopping lines and things of that nature, I ask, who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? And we pick up quite a bit of business that way, just asking, who do you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's so funny. It's that it's such the simplest thing to number one, engage people. I mean, that's a lot of people don't even engage. But then then say, who do you know? And I think similarly, when you do have a client that you're working with, you got to ask them for who do you know, and basically what I'm getting at is ask for referrals. Hey, I would love a referral from you. Mm-hmm. So it's evolved from calling to you're doing more mailings now. Maybe give us an overview of what your overall marketing budget as well as pieces look like.
Okay. Well, with the budget right now, we are budgeting enough to write five letters a day, 5 thank yous or 5 letters for the mailing. We do that Monday through Friday. We do a little bit more with advertising, and our budget for that is about $3,000 a month.
Okay.
To handle that.
And what does that look like? What are you doing how are you deploying that?
Okay. The advertising we're using the pay-per-clicks. We're using some of the Facebook stuff that's just coming out. We're finding that the Facebook is pretty advantageous to us. We're getting more information from Facebook than probably most of our other. Our return on investment is better with Facebook than it is with most of the other.
Yeah. Well, Google's expensive, and if you know how to use Facebook, it's much cheaper than Google pay-per-click. But I think the problem is people don't know how to correctly use or build a Facebook campaign with building a custom audience, building a lookalike audience. Are you guys that sophisticated? Do you guys know how to do that stuff?
Well, we're learning.
Okay,
it's a process, and it's trial and error. One of my guys is he serves as one of my office administrators and my techie guy, and his name is Carl, and he's really good with computers and the internet, and I let him pretty much run that show because he's good at it. And he monitors it. He sees what works, what doesn't work, and he tweaks it here, tweaks it there, changes a word here, changes a word there, and he keeps experimenting with it.
Yeah.
And so that's where right now where we're building the business quite a bit.
But if I look at Google, if I think of Google pay-per-click or I think of Facebook ads, that's all on the buyer's side. How have you migrated away from you started at the buyer side because it's easy and it's natural. How have you migrated away from buyers and into listings?
With the listings, what I'm doing is focusing on the for sale by owners. And what I do is I do a visit, I do a drop-by column, and then I do a drop-by, give them a little bit of information on their house, and then they go into my database, and I follow up with them every once a week. Is what I do.
Okay.
Until they tell me to go away.
And okay, we'll talk about expireds in a second, and if you are using that channel. But so if you're going to focus on FSBOs, how do you go about finding the FSBOs, and do you have a filtering mechanism? And if that doesn't make any sense,
I do have a filtering mechanism. I use a program that helps gather those. I used to look for them myself.
Yeah. On
Craigslist and Zillow and all these other places. and it was just consuming too much of my time. And so sometimes it's better to pay a company to find those for you, so that all you need to do is call them up,
Yep.
than to spend your time searching for them. Because you gotta be thinking about how much time you're spending on something. I figure it costs me, and I figure my time is worth at least $100 an hour.
Yep.
And so if I'm having to spend an hour trying to find 2 leads, that's not real cost effective. And so then I roll in and start searching for the different companies that'll help find the information I'm looking for.
Absolutely, man. You have to focus on the your daily dollar productive activities, and I think that's a great approach. I mean, I certainly encourage everybody determine what you think your hourly rate should be, 50, 100, 200, and that's the only work you do. So and in places like, so who are you using? I always recommend Land Voice Data.
Well, I haven't used Land Voice. Right now I'm using Mojo to find my FSBOs.
Okay.
And Land Voice Data, does that work pretty good?
Yeah.
I'm open to look at them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. So everybody out in the audience, if you haven't looked at, look, I mean, this is all I do. I talk with, vendors. I talk with guys like you. So Land Voice, I fully endorse those guys. And this is for you, Keith, as well as everybody listening. You can try them out free. We have a link. Just if you go to landvoicedata.com/superagentslive, we have a free deal with those guys. And every vendor I work with, I make them give my audience something for free. So yeah, try them out. And I think their paid version, I think it's only like $60 a month, and you get both FSBOs as well as expireds, as well as, here's the neat thing about Land Voices, is if you have a farm, you can give them, Willow Street to Main Street, right? Whatever. Give them a little geographic map, and they will give you all the owner phone numbers. Even if the house is non-owner occupied, they will give you the owner phone numbers, and with cell phone numbers. Boom, done. Pick it up, call. So yeah, I would highly recommend taking a look at them. So for Mojo, that's for everybody who doesn't know, that's an auto dialer. Are you also using the auto dialer feature?
No, I don't use that. No.
Okay.
We use Mojo for locating the FSBOs, and then they also have a neighborhood phone locator.
Okay.
So that when we do an open house, we use their phone locator, so that we call the neighborhood, let the neighborhood know we're doing an open house. And when we call, we also ask, well, by the way, who do you know?
Right. Okay, and let's talk about just. I want to talk about that script of what you say when you call about the open house. But tell us, break down your like step 1 to step 10. So you wake up today, Keith. You take a look at Mojo, and Mojo says, "Hey, 123 Main Street is a FSBO." What do you do?
Okay, the first thing I do is I enter them into Top Producer. I enter that information into Top Producer. And then typically the name of the person is not included in the Mojo, so I go to what's called Realist out here, which is the tax records, and I look up the address on the tax records, find out who the owner is. That way when I call them, I have a name. And then I call them up. And one of the things I developed a special report on for people that are FSBOs on 10 things to know to help sell your house. And I offer to give them that special report, because here I'm giving them something. And with that, they're almost always interested in seeing that report. And I asked, when would be a convenient time for me to bring that by? And so 9 out of 10 times they're giving me a convenient time. Once in a while they say that we don't want to talk to you, and that's fine. I still keep them in my data list. I'll call them back later. Then I go and I present, I bring over my report along with, and it's in a folder, with a pocket folder. And in that pocket folder is the report. a one-sheet document about C&K Real Estate Team, and then the realist report about their house. And one of the things I ask them is, this is what we got with the government. This is what the government has on your house. Is this accurate? And sometimes they say no. Sometimes they say yes. And so then now I'm talking to them, interacting with them. And then I ask, well, if you got a few moments, I'll take, can you show me around your house? Because what I'm doing is I want to build a relationship. Real estate is a relationship business. You really need to get to know people. You really need to be able to take time and listen to them. And then we do the tour, and then I go back, write them a thank you note, mail that to them, put them in my database. I call them up the next week, see how everything's going.
Got it. Okay. A couple things. So one, do you ever? So you look up 123 Main Street. It's John Smith. It would be interesting to do a couple things. One, go check him out on Facebook. I mean, everybody's on Facebook. Check him out on Twitter and see if you know anybody in common. Because I think that would be an interesting thing to say. Hey, listen, I know Jim. You're selling your house. We're both on Facebook. Hey, we know Sally together. And by the way, I mean, there probably is, depending on how big your market is, there probably is some sort of tenuous connection that you have with this person. And again, in terms of finding common ground, that would be an interesting thing to do. And then do you probe into, hey, here's a report of how to get top dollar for your house, or sell it in 30 days, whatever it is. Do you ever get into like, hey, listen, how did you come up with the price?
I do ask that question. Most of the time it's, we look, sometimes they know how to get on the internet and look at the county. Sometimes they use their Zillow accounts.
Yeah.
Well, the Zillow says it's worth this much.
Right.
And then I go, well, the neighborhood is selling for this much, though.
Right.
And so those are typically the two ways that. The third is the neighbor down the street sold for X number of dollars.
Right.
And so we thought we'd put our house is better, so we put it up for more.
Do you find with the FSBOs, do you find that generally they're asking more than it's worth, or less than it's worth, or on par?
Generally, I'm finding they're asking more.
Got it, man. Okay. For the people that are asking less, it'd be that's a great hook to say, listen, guys, I can get you another $10,000 out of this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, for those people who say, listen, Keith, thanks for the phone call, but no thanks. You have their name, you have their phone number, you have their address. Is there anything else other than calling them back a week later? Is there? What else do you do? Do you start to mail them or?
Yeah, I still send them my thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for taking time to talk to me. I understand that right now you're not interested in talking with an agent. That's okay. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Keith Foote. Can I get my phone number?
And that's it. The one touch.
Oh no.
Okay.
I call them up the next week.
Okay. Okay.
I call them weekly until they tell me to go away.
Okay, good. Okay, and again, for everybody out there, that's following up, regardless of what people change their minds. Sometimes if you might catch them, and they just had a fight with that 7th grade 12-year-old, and they're like, I don't want to talk with you right now. But next week it could be a different issue, different matter. Okay, so
life changes.
Absolutely. So you also call into the Use Mojo to call into the neighborhood when you have an open house. What does that strategy look like?
Okay, well, when we do an open house, we start we target an open house 2 weeks in advance.
Okay.
And then because we need to be able to put it in the newspaper, we put together our advertising campaign on the internet where we advertise it. Again, we advertise that one, Craigslist. We put it into the MLS. We put it into other sites as well. We have a Zillow account, so we put it in our Zillow. We put it in our Trulia, and all of our different accounts. And then the week before is when we start door knocking. We go out, we door knock, we hang a door hanger on the doors of the people that we can't get in touch with. And when we do get in touch with somebody, when they answer the door, then we just let them know that it's one of the things that we do is we do a open house. And by the way, who do you know? And then when we do the open house, we have the registration, and then the people that come to the open house, and we follow up with that again with phone calls and also a thank you note. We use a lot of thank you notes here.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that you do. You send out. It sounded to me like 5 handwritten notes a day. I think that's so powerful, man. It's amazing. That is something even that I'm going to start implementing for people like you. I have all these people on the show, and I'll send follow-up emails sometimes, but I think following up with a handwritten note would be awesome. So that's something that we're going to start implementing here, and even for people that we interviewed a year and a half ago. I'm going to go back. I'm not going to write the note, but I'm going to have somebody here write the note, and give them a $5 Starbucks card, and that goes a long way. Now,
yeah.
Is there a particular script that you use when you're door knocking and or calling? I mean, is it hey, listen, guys, we're holding the house open. Would love to have you help choose your next neighbor. Do you know anybody that has been looking or something along those lines?
Just right along that line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever? I'm hearing a little bit of a trend. Some people doing reverse open houses, meaning that after they get the house sold, and I don't know if it's maybe it's under contract, but they then hold an open house. No, it is sold. After they get it sold, they're holding another open house, inviting the neighbors again, saying, "Listen, we just sold this thing. Come and check it out." And people are finding new listings doing that with the reverse open house.
So are they doing the reverse open house before the new people move in?
Yeah, before the new people move in. Yep. And there must be I don't know if that will work with everybody, because again, you can't, if you get them under contract, you can't obviously tell people what it's sold for. So I should have, man, the last person who told me that, I should have dug into that a little bit more. But anyhow, so it sounds to me like you've not done that.
No, but that's an interesting concept.
See, that's why you should be listening to the show, Keith.
Well, yeah.
All right.
I'm liking this.
All right. So, okay, we talked, now, you do FSBOs. What about expireds? Is that something that you focus on at all?
I haven't done expireds.
How come?
Well, I haven't.
Okay.
You can only do so much. When you try to do too many things, at least in my experience, I don't do any of them well.
Right.
And so you got to pick out a few things that you're going to do well. And expires is something I've chosen not to do.
Is that on your future roadmap?
Possibly.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's talk a little bit about evaluating ROI for you. Yeah. I guess just dig into that. How do you view ROI? What do you look for when you implement a new strategy or channel?
Okay. One of the things I look for with particularly with my advertising, there needs to be a way that when somebody responds to one of our ads, we need to get some type of a notification, and I want that notification through email, and then that way we use Gmail because it's a nice searchable database.
Mm-hmm.
Then that way, what we can do is we just put in the search the title, the subject title, and then that way, once a month, we can put that in. We can see how many leads we've generated from that particular lead source, and then we can get a feel for, okay, so we got this many leads. How many of those leads have developed into a true client? And so we do that once a month.
So can you be a little bit? I'm kind of getting a feeling for what you're talking about, but maybe can you be a little bit more specific and give us a specific example of how you do this?
Okay, so for instance, with a Zillow, if somebody clicks on one of our properties, we get a notification, or if they ask for some more information, and that's titled a specific way when it comes in. And so we're able to search for that on a monthly basis and see how many emails we got from that specific email address. And then we can take those and extrapolate how many of those have turned into actual clients.
So for your Zillow, Trulia, your Craigslist, all those different channels, you will use a unique Gmail email address?
No. Each one has in the subject, usually in the subject, or they have a unique address. I don't use a separate address for each one of my accounts. It all goes into one account. But each one of those entities has a label in them somewhere, and it could be their email address, it could be in their title, in the subject line, where we can search and see what kind of responses we're getting.
Okay. And what do you look for in terms of an ROI? So you put you put $100 in Facebook ads. What kind of an ROI is acceptable for you?
3 times. I'm looking at. I need to make 3 times the money of what I'm investing.
And how? Yeah, no, I agree. I think 3 to 5x is the right number. I think that's where you should be shooting for. Anything less than that, if you're just looking at getting a double, you run the risk of having a couple bad months and going backwards, being negative. How long of a runway, if you start something today, how long of a runway do you give it?
3 to 6 months, no more than 6 months. If it's not working in 6 months, I abandon it.
Now, again, I think this is instructive for people for sure. So, and look, a lot of times, like if you think of mailers, for example, I mean, we all know that if you're going to mail a neighborhood, you're going to send out 1 mailer a month. The break even time is on average 18 months. So we know you're looking for a 3x. So let's say month 1 through 4, you got 0. Or months 1 through 3, you got 0 return. Month 4, you broke even. Month 5, you got a 2x. Month 6, your last month, you get a 3x. Now, for the life of the campaign, you're maybe at break even, but at again in this
we're moving up. We're
right.
moving up. In your scenario, we're moving up. So I would continue that for a longer period of time.
Okay.
I'd still monitor it, but I'd continue it because it's going up.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. I again, I don't want people out there to hear, well, hey, Keith said it's a 3x and and you're seeing the trend line go in the right direction, but okay. And again, I agree with that. So you would continue that, you'd monitor that, and you'd give it another 3 or 4 months to see if you can get that 3x return.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for I recently had a guy on the show. Okay, I'm gonna spin the question up in this way. And he said that whatever channel that he does, he expects that channel to be a $20 million channel. For you, if you think of your channels, do you have a number like that where you go, hey, I need to, regardless of 3x or 5x, I need this channel to kick out $5, $10, $15 million in volume per annually?
No, I've never thought of it that way.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that it's not a good idea.
Yeah, look, the way that he explained it, and again, if you go to Super Agents Live, the guy's name is Chris Suarez, who does a brilliant open house strategy, and this was his notion. And as he explains it, it makes a lot of sense. And for him, all he's looking for is having 5 channels and that each kick out 20 million. And he's there. I think he's got 3 channels right now that kick out 20 million. Speaking of number of channels, what is your take on that? How many different lead generation channels should someone have?
I'm thinking you don't want any more than 5 because you start. I believe if you have, I'm thinking 3 is good. 5 would be the max.
Yep.
Because you start to run into a management problem, and again, you start to run into what are you good at.
Yep. I absolutely agree. So how many do you have today, Keith?
Right now we have 3.
3. Okay.
Yeah.
And can you tell me again what those are?
Okay, well, we do our open houses.
Okay.
We're doing our FISBOs.
Yep.
And then I'm also working my database. The
Okay.
database that I have.
Okay.
Those are my 3 main channels.
Perfect. All right, bud. Listen, we're going to start wrapping up, but before we do that, Keith, is there something that here's the crazy question. What's something I should have asked you but I didn't, or is there just something on your chest that you'd like to get off?
Well, I think the overriding way to be successful in real estate is to pick out no more than 5. 5 is the max. Ways that you're going to generate your income, and consistently do it day in and day out. Make your schedule, keep your schedule, and do it day in and day out consistently.
Yep, I agree. I mean, that goes back to the thing that you said early on, right? Consistency beats out talent, and I 100% agree. Okay, well, look, here's the standard stock 3 questions I ask everybody. And I just want to key you up right now. I'm going to be in a minute asking for a book recommendation. Okay, so here we go. For you, whether it's your personal life or your professional life, Keith, who has been a mentor to you?
Well, you have to start with the tough one, huh? I guess right now my mentor would be the Keller Williams organization and their training.
Got it. Yeah, and again, I was just in Orlando at the family reunion, and man, I got
as well.
Yeah, man, I wish I would have known we could have met. But that was inspiring, man. Gary was up there talking, and Chris Heller when he took over the reins, and he talked about all the great things, whether it's from community and fundraising to people who are building their business and killing it. That was a pretty inspiring conference. So now we're at the book recommendation. So because you're a Keller Williams person, you cannot recommend any of Gary's books. Okay. So, so here's the setup. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
I think I'd go buy Think and Grow Rich.
Oh man. Absolutely.
I mean, that thing was written in the 1940s, and it still has excellent information.
Yeah, and did you know they're doing an updated version of it?
No, I did not.
Yeah, the Think and Grow Rich Foundation got a guy, and he's doing it just like Napoleon Hill did, and he's talking with all the new captains of industry. So I'm really looking forward to that book. But listen, everybody in the audience, if you have not read Think and Grow Rich, there's 2 cornerstones in your library. 1, Think and Grow Rich. 2, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Everybody should read those books once a year. And if you haven't gotten a copy of either one of those, get a free copy on us. Just go to audibletrial.com/superagentslive. My last question to you, Keith, is this. You're obviously a successful guy. In the last 10 years, you've built this very, very tidy, business doing 150 deals a year. Do you have, and I think I know your answer to this, but do you have a personal habit that you feel has contributed to your success?
Self-discipline.
You unpack that a bit. In what way?
Well, do I want to be on the phone call every day at 9 o'clock? No, I don't. I don't get out of bed and go, gee whiz, I'm going to make 25, 30 phone calls today. I got out of bed from 9 to 11, build a business, and it's self-discipline. And being able to keep doing what you need to do to build whatever goal it is that you want to do. Without self-discipline, I don't believe you can be successful in anything.
Yep, and again, this goes back and speaks to that consistency. I love it. All right, buddy. Well, listen, I encourage my audience, if they've gotten anything out of this, if they've even just gotten one nugget, to reach out to you and say thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. So where can people find you?
They can find me at CK Real Estate Team at gmail.com.
Got it. And listen, guys, if you are out there riding your bike, walking your dog, mowing your lawn, whatever it is, listen to this. Don't worry about writing that down. It'll all be on the show notes. Just go to superagentslive.com, look for Keith Foote, and it'll all be there. Keith, I'm going to kick off the thank you train, man. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to come and share with me your background and with my audience. So thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let's keep in touch. See you, bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.